it's not so much as that money is the root of all evil. It's so much as the system that is put in place for us to pursue it and hold it at such high esteem and need it essentially to live, sustain, whatever the case may be, is what got everybody bent out of shape when they don't got money.
This is Sad Boy Radio.
What's the word, everybody? Welcome back to Sad Boy Radio. I'm your host, Matt, and today, man, we got a very special guest. We got a returning guest. I don't know if we're going to release this before or after, most likely after, but the project recently released. Whatever you do, don't panic.
Yeah.
Man, he did this one relatively quick, 1.5 years compared to 5 years.
Facts, right. I vowed to never go away. I vowed to never go away again.
Still rocking with the subtle radio theme over there.
Yeah.
Not so much heartbroken anymore.
Facts.
Man, introduce yourself, bro.
Man, we live from the east side, Tree Nohbi. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Little east side legend, you feel me?
Man, I appreciate you coming through again, bro. It's been a minute. We
Absolutely.
definitely went crazy last time. We talked for like 2 hours.
Facts. Great conversation.
Man, how's Yoda doing?
Yoda's good, man. That's a great one. We just started getting in the studio and just started talking music. Me, him, and Ruck was just in the studio recently, just getting the amalgamations of an idea, of a concept, of maybe something of, another project, you know what I mean? So maybe things trending in the right direction. But he's good. You know what I'm saying? We in a good spot, man. We've been out here working.
I love to hear it, bro. I love to see the relationship continue to grow, right? For those that don't know, who is Yoda? How did you guys start working together?
Yoda is the legend, No I.D. From here on out, I'll probably refer to him as Dion because that's just what I know him as. You know what I mean? But we met in 2017. He saw my music on the internet, man, and he flew me out to LA. We've been working ever since, no matter where my career kind of went. From place to place, he's always been very present in my career and just like being a great mentor toward, approaching the music industry. You know what I mean?
If y'all want to know more about that, go ahead, check out that first interview. We talked a lot about that one.
Facts.
But your relationship with No I.D was addressed really early on in this project. The first track, probably within the first minute, Life Keeps Honest, you say, No I.D my mentor, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
In what ways has he helped you grow both professionally and personally?
Just the way I just view the game, right? Like, I think when I came in the music industry, when I actually got the opportunity to be in a label type situation, I think he just, he let me take my lumps first and foremost, right? And I think trial by fire is often necessary, right? And through that, throughout that process, whether the deal went south or not, whatever the case may be, whether I was dropping music independently or whatever the case may be, he always tried to give me hints and clues as into where the game was going, how the music industry's moving, what's probably for my best interest. He'll let me do some stuff that ain't for my best interest. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, it's your decision. Do your thing. You know what I mean? Right? He's very hands-off in that way. And yeah, and I think that is the business side of it. But on like the personal side of it, like, just giving me advice in like life and just like how to maneuver through things and different relationships and stuff like that. And then on a music tip, it's been, just, man, that becomes, between him and Ruck, I like the well of musical knowledge these guys have is just unlike anything I've ever seen. So just being able to pick up those different types of things from him, just helped me improve and grow as an artist. You know what I'm saying? How I write, how I approach songs, how, I record myself and what's a cool compressor and what's not. You know what I mean? Like just random tidbits, right? So yeah, just being around him has just been able to just show me a lot as far as music is concerned, music business is concerned, and just how to maneuver through it all.
He let you fuck around and find out.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He will let you walk off that cliff to see if there's arrows on the other side for sure, for sure.
And, you know, this is another person that comes from Chicago. This is somebody that understands the topics of this album and what you're talking about. What kind of input did he have? And, you know, creatively, what kind of role did he play, if any?
In this particular project, he wasn't really that involved. I think this was a brainchild between me and Ruckazoid, right? And I think Ruck was like the main driving force sonically for this album. I told him kind of what I wanted to go for and just like what stories I wanted to tell. And me and him kind of took it from there. Did I play it for Dion every step of the way? For sure, for sure. And the whole time, Dion's just like, nah, you're good. You're good. You're good. I don't have to critique it. You just do your thing, blah, blah, blah. It was even records that he told me early on that he really liked. You know what I mean? So that's enough for me, right? Like if I could if I'm working on a body of work and I go to him and I'm like, yo, check this out. He'd tell me if it's whack or not. You know what I'm saying? He'd tell me if there's some trash on that, right? So I didn't get that, and that's a good test to pass. But other than that, it was really just me and Ruck just really like honing in like we've done for what, 4 albums now, you know.
He did the whole trilogy before?
Oh yeah, Ruckazoid did the whole trilogy. Love Bomb, thought we was having fun, and with Love Tree. We had guest production on all of those albums for sure. My homie Mike Lee gave us some stuff as well, and he's written on a few records as well. That's the team, man. And I've been working with Mike for years, Ruck for years at this point. Yeah, and same here. I think my homie Jake, T.Y. Jake, just dropped a project and did some major production on that artist Sailor. You know, shout out T.Y. Jake, great producer, great artist. He produced OK, but other than that, it was Ruckazoid. You know what I'm saying? Produced everything.
Why throw that line in there, right? Something that stuck out to me was you said, but that's a different story. What was it you were alluding to?
So if anybody knows, like, is really into hip hop, everybody says No I.D. on the track and Let the Story Begin. So Let the Story Begin is Dion's whole thing, right? And so on my project, I actually wanted to understate it, right? Like, it's more so it's like, yeah, he around, but like, I'm me though. Like I'm me. I'm telling the story. My story is what's important right now, right? And that's how Dion operates, right? Like he wants you to be your own person. He wants you to be your own star. He doesn't want you to be in his shadow. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to let people know, like, nah, I know who on my side, but at the same token, like right now is about this particular story I want to tell you. I know that's a very interesting fact about my career and our connection and blah blah blah. But you know, I'm still me, and I'm still really, 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 really good at music. You know what I mean? And I got stories I really want to tell. You know what I'm saying? So it's just me like maybe shifting the narrative, maybe.
You know me, you know my style.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I hate that I have to open with it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
But clearly,
yeah, for sure.
There's a way. Clearly, you see what I'm doing.
I know what
here,
you
right?
No,
you see what I'm doing.
I appreciate it when you do it, and I got a few other people I interview with that I always love coming to them because I understand that it's an interesting point and it's an interesting connection to make, you know what I'm saying, between, because he's such a prominent figure in the Chicago music culture, lore, history, you know what I'm saying? So I understand his importance to it all, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a blessing to be around him. It's a blessing to learn from him. I understand why it's so important, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, at the same token, I'm trying to make a name for myself, right? And that's just me that's my inner Chicago, you know what I'm saying? That's my inner but man, I love talking about the guy. He's an amazing person. It doesn't really rub me the wrong way whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? I can never sing his praises enough. You know what I'm saying? Great human being all around for sure.
Man, so speaking of separating, the theme of this project is vastly different from the trilogy before, right?
For sure.
Like you said, Love Bomb with the 3.
Yeah.
I Thought We Were Having Fun, my favorite.
Yeah.
With Love Tree.
Yeah.
Those were albums that really focused on relationships.
For sure.
And even though there were some records there talking about what you had to overcome, the trauma that you faced.
For sure.
This is the record that really puts it in your face.
Yeah.
And you're painting that picture for people to really understand who Tree Nohbi is.
100%.
What was it about the contents of this album that made sense for the evolution of Tree?
I think when I made the trilogy, after being gone for 5 years, what maybe I didn't realize was that people will identify you with a particular sound once they get introduced to you, right? I'm introducing myself as Tree Nohbi. I seen people get familiar with a sound, right? And I guess I come from the art or the culture or the train of thought, right? That art is expression, right? Art is evolving because I'm evolving as a person, right? I'm going through different experiences through life, right? I'm at I'm at this interesting point in my life where I'm reflecting on maybe my like upbringing a lot more, right? Seeing different things living in LA, right? Opposed to um the 25, 26 odd years I spent in Chicago, right? And just seeing the parallels and differences in lifestyles, you know what I'm saying? And um maybe what I thought was okay and unlearning certain things that I thought was okay. Uh maybe aren't okay. You know what I'm saying? And maybe um yeah, I'm in a more reflective state. So I think that's the difference between the trilogy and probably where I'm at now, right? I think the trilogy um was just where I was at and I kind of had it pre-planned. So even halfway through when I kind of was like off it, I still wanted to commit myself to doing what I said I was gonna do, right? So by the time you get with Love Tree, I'm probably like off the whole like singing and melodic stuff, like right. But I want to prove to myself that I could like do it. You know what I'm saying? That I could like commit myself to dropping 2 projects in a year. I could commit myself to doing a trilogy. I could commit myself to um completing the thought, right? And I think the trilogy was about completing the thought about how I felt probably pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and I had to complete that thought. Thought complete, right? And so now I'm on a whole new train of thought, and I think that's just the evolution of the artist, right? Like, you wouldn't like me if I just stayed in the same position all the time. That's very unhuman, right? Like we as humans evolve and we develop. So standing in the same place, it's never been my thing. You know what I mean? I'm like, I feel very stagnant if I just seem to be tackling the same subjects 24/7 or all the time. You know what I mean? So, and I'm multidimensional. I'm a human being. You know what I'm saying? I have so many ranges of emotions, so many ranges of like artistic expression that I want to tap into it all. And I just hope people allow me to do that and just like not put me in a box per se. You know what I'm saying? Just ride with me through the journey of my life. You know what I mean? I'm like, it can go left, right, up, down, you know what I'm saying? Just enjoy the ride type thing.
And even with this album, right, you still make space. There's one song on there. It's still a love joint.
Cause I don't want to. I know what I gave y'all and started y'all off with, right? So with my fan base that I'm trying to develop and grow, right? And I know what I gave y'all, so I didn't want to abandon it completely, right? I did want to make the point though, like, all right, we're rapping right now, right? But I know what y'all want because I gave y'all that. I gave y'all that in spades, and it'd be completely rude of me to just not give you anything of that. So yeah, I want to sneak one in there for sure.
So you mentioned learning to unlearn certain things that you were taught growing up.
Yo,
What was one of the hardest things you had to face and really learn to leave?
it's a concurrent theme in the project was that the one thing I learned was that like violence ain't normal. Right? I grew up in a very, I wouldn't say, no, I would say, I grew up in a very like, violence was like a reoccurring thing where I'm from, right? Like whether somebody was getting shot on the news, whether it was my own relatives getting into situations where guns were involved or people were dying or killed or whatever the case may be, whether it was people getting robbed or whatever the case may be, right? And through that, you learn, you develop a chip on your shoulder growing up from that type of environment, right? Because you want to protect yourself at all costs. And when I move out of that environment, I realize like, oh, everybody doesn't carry this like crazy little chip on their shoulder. There's like little bit of aggression that you got to always keep with you at all times, right? Just so people don't play with you. You know what I'm saying? And I realize living in different environments, I'm like, oh, wow, like y'all didn't have to have this persona or y'all didn't have to have this facade or y'all didn't have to have this like chip on y'all shoulder, right? Because like y'all grew up like in really like cool, stable, and mind you, it is cool and it is dope to grow up in a stable environment, right? And not to be around violence. I don't know why we as a culture, you get credit for like being around like violence and like and death and all that stuff like that. You get like stripes for that. Whereas like, nah, you would if I was having kids or for my future kids, I would want them to not have a drastically different upbringing than what I had. You know what I'm saying? My mom tried to do her best to protect me from it. I think she did a pretty amazing job at it, right? Because I didn't get involved in none of that stuff, right? But there's so many people I know, so many family members that fell victim to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I got to see it firsthand. You know what I mean? And feel those emotions when people pass away, or feel those emotions when, you know, you get a tragic call in the middle of the night because somebody in the hospital. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize that that's just not normal, bro. That's one of the things I was like, oh, wow. Like, that's, and I think I said at the end of the album, I'm like, man, I realized we just desensitized to violence, bro. Like, it's nothing for us to go outside to go get our food after somebody was just shooting and unloading their clip. Like, that ain't nothing. We gonna wait like 10 minutes, hear the police sirens, and then we gonna go outside and go do what we gotta go do, right? That's not even a thing in some places, right?
You stay inside for an hour.
You know what I mean?
You
Like,
stay
that's not
inside
even
the rest
like,
of the day.
but we got trained to, like, if you hear gunshots, you hit the floor. Like, just hit the floor. Stay away from windows. Right? Like, we have precautions for this. Like, there's things that me and my mom had to teach me when I was like 7. Or I said on the last track, I remember having cash in my socks, right? So if they robbed me, they ain't taking a pot. That's something my mama taught me when I was 7 years old. She was like, don't put all your money in one spot. Put some in your shoe and your socks. So if somebody rob you, jump you, whatever the case may be, right? You ain't broke and you can't not get home.
At 7 years old.
Because my mom used to work late, right? And I had keys to the house at 7 years old. I'm taking the bus CTA at 7. You feel me? Like, this is just how we had to survive, right? And I didn't realize this was like, oh, abnormal. I didn't understand, like, oh, 2 parents is usually at home, or you have an after school program you have to go to, or, you know what I mean? Like, this, that's not, I'm telling you, like, my cousins, me, a lot of us, that wasn't our experience. A lot of kids, thank God I had Toonami, and I love Toonami, but a lot of my homies would just go outside and sit on a block after school. There ain't nothing else to do. And what do you think that led them? You know what I mean? Type. So it's like, that's what I learned. That's what I'm unpacking in this thing. That's why the whole thing is like, we start panicking because we have nothing but idle time as kids when we were kids. I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to say that history repeats itself. So I can only assume that it is kids. I know. I got little cousins. I assume that y'all going through the same things we went through, right? In a different capacity, probably, right? And it's the same concept. Like, they defunded, like, our programs in the South Side. They defunded, like, we don't have after school matters no more. You know what I'm saying? We didn't, or I hope they bring it back. You know what I'm saying? And I hope some places still, because it's important that kids have something to do after school. You know what I mean?
They don't got after school matters in the South Side no more.
Man, they took it from a lot of our schools, right? And what does that do when you take resources away from kids, bro? They gon' figure out something to do. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't always positive. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't their fault per se. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they parents trying to work double jobs on extra money, you know what I'm saying? Get their money. They can't watch their kid do their math homework. When you take resources from a community, only one thing can happen: violence. You know what I'm saying? They don't have resources. So they have to acquire resources, bro. You know what I'm saying? When they back is against the wall, what you think gonna happen, bro? Some might say it's strategic, whatever. You know what I mean? It's happening. I just know it's important for people to have, for children to have things to do to occupy their time that's constructive. Because that's when they find their passion. That's when they find things that they love to do, right? And thank God my mom was one of those parents that wanted to put me in everything she could afford. She tried, you know what I mean? Like, whether it was, I don't know, bowling or day camp or whatever, she tried, you know what I mean? Because I never really fell into music, right? And I was stuck there since I was 13 years old.
Shout out Mama Tree. I had the pleasure of meeting her after our last interview, the day it went viral, actually. So shout out her. She might be the good luck charm.
I mean, she's always been mine, man. Always been mine.
So I actually pulled the line that you said, right? I pulled the line. I remember hiding cash inside of my socks, so if they rob me, they ain't taking the pot. I was 7, but I was thinking a lot.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, the line that you also took, the line that you say at the very end of the album, that you're desensitized to violence because of the neighborhood that you come from, because of the environment that you grow up in. In what ways did you realize this desensitization impact the way that you felt your other emotions?
The moment that we talk about on the album, I think was the moment that stuck out to me. And my homie Mike Lee, that's produced a lot of my earlier work, you know, still helps me produce and songwrite. The whole story we're telling on the album is about a time, like, right behind my house, it was this, like, trap house where it was like really hot. Like I'm telling you, cars would be parked out of there all the time. People coming in and out. They cleaned it up and reformed it now. You know what I mean? They got floor clothes and whatever it may be. But right. And so at the time, we open the door, somebody drives past and just dumps at the trap house, right? And they skirt off, right? And so me and Mike, we just closed the door for a second and like, you still trying to, he like, yeah. Mind you, Mike grows up in Roseland. Mike is from Roseland, right? And so it being hot and the block being hot and people, war gangs or whatever the case may be, and you're neutral. You ain't got nothing to do with this, right? And walking to your destination, you still gotta might have to fight some motherfuckers. You might still get jumped. You know what I mean? Just because you live over in a certain place, bro. Right? So after that situation happened, I think it reflected on me like a couple years later when I started moving to LA, and it started hitting when I lived in like a suburb of LA. Like I don't really live in like inner city LA. You know what I mean? I've been blessed enough not to have to, but it made me realize like, whoa, y'all live so differently. And it just made me start going through everything we ever went through coming up, whether we was all sleeping on my floor trying to do music, right? Like people come up to my house, sleep on the floor. Whether, we had to go to Save a Lot, we had to take our link cards, go to Save a Lot, just get whatever we can, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? I remember when I was a kid and we lived in an apartment complex, it's 13 degrees outside in the middle of the winter and the heat ain't kicked on in an apartment complex yet. So my mom saying like, oh, get all your stuff off your bed. We going in the living room, we sleeping on the floor, and we going to open the oven. I learned later on in life that's ridiculous because that is a gas oven, right? And so we have to open the windows, right? Just for heat, bro, right? And I'm like, these are the conditions. And mind you, we made it through the night, whatever, and the heat eventually comes on and the radiators start, because this, I don't know if anybody lived in an apartment complex with radiators and stuff like that. They kick on at a certain time. They don't always kick on as soon as it get cold, you know what I mean? So we have to do stuff like that, just like, and that was just our norm. We didn't think too much about it. It was just like how we was living, right? And until I saw other things, I'm like, oh, wow, y'all just, it's different. Like, y'all grew up different. I'm seeing 16-year-olds hop out of G-Wagons. I'm like, oh, y'all just, life is so much different here. You know what I mean? And that's not everywhere in Los Angeles, obviously, right? But it just so happened to be where I live at, right? And so I think being able to make those parallels and just seeing how we encountered, I had a homie right before I met him. He's one of Mike's closest friends, and now he's become one of my closest friends. His name's Ernie. And when I met him, he was walking with a cane. He was telling me his story. And like, I think a year or two before I met him, he was walking down the street in the hundreds. Some dude walks up to him, thinks he's somebody else, unloads the gun.
And his leg?
Hit him in his leg. He was almost paralyzed. One leg is dead now, but he always has to have a cane. And Ernie was just innocent, just walking down the street, you know what I mean? Just trying to go to his grandma's house, right? And it's like, I hate to keep bringing up people's traumatic stories, but I guess I'm trying to paint a picture of like the environment we grew up in, right? And I've rapped about Ernie, I've rapped about Mike, I've rapped about a lot of this stuff, right? And this is just goes to show you that it's like, I don't know why it took me to get to this age, to this album. Maybe because I was preoccupied by love-related things, right? But these are things that I've touched on before I was Nohbi or whatever the case may be. It's like, it's a part of our upbringing. It's a thing we even bond over, right? Like, because we all come from these type of environments. So it's like, that's why we make the music that we make, and that's why I think it's important for me to make this particular project, just so people can understand this parallels I'm making. Like, it's not okay, right? The circumstances that we go to, it's okay to acknowledge that we're going through them and that we're in it, but it's okay to also say like, yo, this is bananas. Like,
this is not okay. Something needs to change, right? And your whole experience in general, you mentioned that, you don't want to keep bringing up people's traumas, but this is the life you've lived. This is where you come from. Is this why in okay? There's the line, if you seen the shit that I done seen, you think I done lived this shit twice.
No, 100%. Because I think the experiences that we get from where we from, man, I don't think people get to see this in a lifetime.
So what I took away from the line is you've really lived two different lives, right? You've lived the LA life and you've lived the hood life. Is that what the meaning of that line was? Or was it more so that you've seen so much crazy shit in your life that you would think that it would have been twice?
You would have thought I went around this globe 100 times twice. Cause I'm like, y'all, some people will, I guarantee you, some people, the beautiful part about experiences is that some people would live a trajectory and an experience that you may never touch, right? I don't know what the daily life in an African child is like, bro. I will never be able to experience that, right? And yes, for me growing up in the hood and we sharing EBT food stamps to like No I.D coming out of nowhere and saying like, hey, yo, come to LA and like pursue music. And I'm like, okay, right? Like, sure,
Bro,
right?
this shit sounds like a movie,
It
bro.
sounds crazy, right? And so it's like when you live in those things in real life, but like I could be out pursuing music, but like my family, when I touched back down in Chicago, they updated me with what's still going on right now. And it might not be my experience no more because I live in a different place, right? But I'm still very much tied to these people. These is my family. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm still very much tied to Chicago, and I'm tied to our part of the trench. You know what I'm saying? It's like we still living. My mama still living. My grandma still living. You know what I mean? So it's like I done seen a lot. I've been blessed enough to experience a lot, and I think it shapes who I am. Obviously, you know what I'm saying. So shout out to the people that never have to experience. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it ain't the greatest thing. It's not a trauma you want to keep.
Now that you've moved, do you find yourself holding on to certain guilt?
Yeah, I think earlier in my career, I made a song about it called "Running." If anybody knows who Over East Meech is, but absolutely, right? Because a lot of journeys you have to go alone, right? And that's the part about success that people don't really like tell you. Like a lot of that, you probably don't go alone. A lot of them parties is only gonna be an invitation for you. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody around you. And you got and everybody. If people understand that aspect of it, they won't hold it against you, right? Because like some opportunities or some blessings is only for you. You know what I mean? And as long as people around you understanding that and there ain't no jealousy and no envy and stuff like that, that's how everybody get through. We only need one to get through the door. That's all. I think that's my job. I'm just the one trying to get through the door.
So why is it you find yourself holding on to so much guilt about the circumstances that you were forced to come up in?
Because I didn't know that it was an alternative. And maybe I'm frustrated by that. Right? I didn't know that there was an alternative. I didn't know that like both of your parents can like stay together, have a loving marriage, and like you can just be like straight, go to like a nice school, and like they give you a car when you graduate and whatnot. Like I didn't know that was the alternative, right? And I don't know if my parents knew that that was the alternative. I don't know if their parents knew that that was the alternative. You know what I mean? So it's like now the burden is on us. Now that I'm aware of such opportunities, now the burden is on me to like make sure that at least it won't change nothing for us that's already here. We been through it, we lived it, right? But maybe my kids can just have a whole different reality, right? And then the lineage can just move from that point on. Whereas like we know all of the alternatives, right? I think the problem is like my mom's from Cabrini Green Projects. Well, and in her estimations, based off where she's from, she succeeded. Her son is not dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, or in jail. She succeeded. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a drastic improvement from where she's from. You know what I'm saying? Drastic, right? But then you see that leap there, you're like, oh man, she killed that. You know what I mean? Then I grew up and I learned like, oh wait, there's a whole nother side to this. Like, yo, you could really be like rich and have like family and like build wealth with like another person and like marry and like have a family in the suburbs with a picket fence. Like, that's a thing. Like, we didn't know. Some of us still don't know. I'm gonna be real with you.
Is that a life that appeals to you?
No, because of my sensibilities, but yes, in the same thing. Because I think if not for myself, maybe for whatever my future kids have, it's for them. It ain't really even for me. I want to travel the world. I'm an artist, so it's like I want to travel the world. I want to do music. I want to perform. I want to do all these things, right? So I'm not saying completely white picket fence because I do like to venture out and like pursue my career, and I know where that takes me is a bunch of different places, right? But stability is what I'm alluding to, right? Stability is what I'm alluding to, right? And yes, I think everybody wants stability. I think kids need stability. You know what I mean? I think we didn't have enough of it. And that's why some of us ended up where we ended up.
Stability is what's going to keep you on track. Having structure, any type of structure, right? And I mean, in our last conversation, a lot of what we talked about is going through the struggles of being a young 20-year-old, a mid 20-year-old, trying to figure out their way in life and navigating relationships that often don't benefit us. We try to fit something into a place that just doesn't work. And when it's not working, it's like, but I want it to work. I want it so bad. I hope that it does. And eventually it just doesn't, right? So when you talk about, there being an alternative, when you talk about things that just didn't work, they didn't work because often people didn't understand that there was another way. Going back to Okay, the video.
Yeah.
There's 2 versions of you sitting back to back.
Yeah.
Was that just for aesthetic? What was the significance behind that?
It was purely aesthetic.
Oh, fuck.
Purely aesthetic.
Come on, bro. You got to give me the breakdowns. I'm over here. I'm like, this is the LA version. This is the Chicago version. Like, this man thought it all through.
Some stuff we do think through, right? I think the Old Money probably has a lot more of that than the Okay one. But that one was just like, that one was just purely aesthetic because I think we did all our storytelling really on the Old Money and we wanted to have some juxtaposition, right? And so Okay as a record, though, it really is about that chip I mentioned earlier, right? So the whole point of the video and the whole point of like, it's just to display this like chip on my shoulder, right? It's just like, it's a facade. It's something that if you grow up in the hood in Chicago, like, you don't gotta be in no gang, but you just can't be soft, bro. Like, you just can't let anybody do anything to you, bro, because then it's gonna keep happening. And then that's how bullying and all this weird stuff start happening. You can't go. Like, that's our whole thing. I'm not folding, bro. Like, whatever it is, I'm not folding, bro. I don't care what we gotta do, but I'm not folding, right? And so Okay is just alluding to that, whether it's my pitfalls in the music industry. I ultimately have told myself I can't fold. Like, it's fine. I failed, but it's cool. But I'm just not gonna fold, right? I'm like, and I got to keep getting back up, and I got to keep making something shake, and I got to keep going after it, right? And I'm like, I've experienced too much trauma. I've experienced too much failure. I've experienced way too much stuff to ever go back and just sit here and just take this life's ass beating. I'm straight. I'm like, I'm gonna fight. Like, and that's ultimately what Okay is. Ultimately, all I'm trying to say. The video is just aesthetically pleasing. I'm sorry. Yeah, that one. I'm sorry to disappoint on that one.
But throughout this project, you're talking about the struggles you faced, the trauma you faced, all these things that would be seen as negative. So what is it you find yourself holding on to so much? Because this record is pretty much an ode to the East Side, the South Side, Chicago. What is it you find yourself holding on to if all these negative experiences are highlighted?
It's not for me. It's for the people that's in that place, right? Because it's like, all I'm saying is that I know exactly what you're going through. Here was the route I took. Take from it what you will, right? It's my traveler's guide to the East Side, right? If you're in those situations that I spoke of, right? Off some of them I often found myself in, right? Here's how I approached it, right? I have songs in there where I'm saying it's like the young boys want to know how I was beating the streets. Somebody always kept them in peace. It was always about the money with me. You know what I'm saying? Keep it legal if you can. Don't go itching for beef because niggas is crash dummies. If only they had some. Maybe it's their conditions, so I kind of feel bad for them. Matter who failed them, right? This is the crux. This is the core of the problem, right? A lot of people get into it with other people, right, who are, maybe not satisfied where they at in life, so they carry a chip on their shoulder. Then they meet you one day, right? And whatever conflict may arise, they take it above and beyond too far. Maybe at home they're going through negative experiences, right? And so they lash out on you and maybe we lose 2 lives instead of 1 or none. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to lose any lives, right? But now 2 people crash out and now that's over with because like for whatever silly reason it ultimately becomes, right? And so this is like, these are the things that I did to avoid it. We always protected ourselves. We not evil. We not trying to harm nobody, but we understand what environment we grew up, so we gonna protect ourselves. Some of my cousins always used to carry. My homie always carry. I'm like, it was never about us being tough. It was never about that. Ain't nobody You stayed out of our way, we stayed out of y'all way. We just made music.
While trying to make it to the next day.
That's it. And trying to make it out, like, and just trying to like do something productive. We was just trying to make music, bro. It was always about the music and trying to get some money on. That's it. Right? And that helped us get a little further out of our situations, right? So when I rap about these things, it's only for me saying it's like, yo, I understand. I absolutely understand. I had to go through it, right? And maybe it ain't the traditional way. Maybe I wasn't a trapper who just took his drug money and made a rap career. I ain't do it that way. You know what I'm saying? I just did honest work. I just made music and I stayed out the way and I found like-minded people and we somehow got on No I.D's radar, right? Like, and it just, I'm not saying that is the way. I'm not saying it's your story is going to be that miraculous or whatever, but it could be, right? Like if you try some of the things that I'm alluding to.
But you talk about your purpose in creating these songs on How Could You Hate It? You say, I should have stuck to singing, rapping got me facing demons. Like y'all don't need to know this information, but that shorty on that block, I hope it helped him.
Yeah, 100%.
What was it you were forced to face about yourself during the creation of this album?
I had to tap into a place I probably hadn't been in a while, right? Like I just gave y'all 3 albums about feelings and emotions and love, right? Like, right? Had I been home? Yeah. Had I lost people since then? Yeah. Some natural causes, some violence, you know what I'm saying? That don't stop, you know what I'm saying? Just because I'm on this particular topic musically, like life still goes on, right? And I still got to do those things. See, the beautiful thing about rap, and I guess maybe it's my fault because I thought when I was making those, the trilogy, I thought I was rapping in a melodic way in which people was understanding these complex feelings toward very common emotions, right, that I was having. Then ultimately it just came off like I was just a singing ass person. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just an R&B singer, right? So I'm like, all right, a lot can get lost in melody. When you singing something, as long as you sound good, that beat's nice, what you're saying and the potency of what you're saying can be lost. When you're rapping though, it's no melody. I have to literally sit here and talk to y'all about like real stuff, and or else, what am I doing it for, right? And so what I found me in the creation of this process, like, I'll put it like this: the best art that I found, my favorite rappers or my favorite hip hop, it's always been stuff that came from the heart and that was vulnerable and that was talking about your experiences and your perspective on the world. I have a dark one, right? And it can kind of show in Love Bomb where I thought we were having fun, you know what I'm saying? So that I can have a cynical approach to things, right? But making this project, I lost my uncle, I lost my cousin, I lost people to natural. I lost my auntie Carla, right? Like I just lost people. I had a lot of loss, you know? And so when I faced this, it wasn't just my story I was telling. You know what I mean? I'm telling you the story of the place I live. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, I gotta unpack a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to, right? I can make just cookie cutter, cool rap. You know what I'm saying? That don't really tell you nothing, but that ain't the type of music I wanted to make. And I committed myself to making heartfelt, poignant music. And when I say I could have stuck to singing, I could have made love songs forever. And probably people would have loved it, right? And people probably would have just never thought twice about what really I was going through. But I was challenged by Ruck and No I.D to just like rap and just be myself and just like, I recently was in the studio with Dion. He was telling me this. He was like, Meet, you're more of yourself when you rap. I'm like, no, 100%, right? Because when you sing, you can skate. You can just be like, oh, girl, I love you, right? And you ain't really got to say much for real. I'm going to be real, right? But when you rap, you got to really bare your soul. Right? And I got to really tell y'all about my losses, my L's, you know what I'm saying? My W's, you know what I'm saying? People I lost, them little stories about us walking down the street or being that save a lot. Like, I got to tell y'all really what I go through for real. So it's always when I rap, it's always a little bit of a darker place. You know what I'm saying? One day, maybe I got happy raps one day. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm in Japan one day.
But what was it you faced head on, right? Because when you take this journey into really reflecting on the things that have happened in life, right? You talk about those losses. We feel them at the moment, but then we move on and we forget about it until an anniversary comes around or a birthday comes around or somebody says, oh, this person used to love this. This person used to do this. You know, my mom does that a lot with my grandma. When we reflect on life, we look at all our traumas, we look at everything that we've been through. And often we just move on. We don't sit there and try to solve what impact is this having on me? What was it you were really forced to look at and find out about yourself throughout this?
I realize I'm an empath, as in like I don't necessarily got to go through it to feel some type of empathy for every situation, and then some stuff I got to face head on, right? And what I learned about myself is that I come from a place that like we've experienced a lot of death. I don't know if people like understand that or what that's like when you lose homies to like violence, or if you lose relatives to violence, or if you lose like people to cancer or even natural causes, right? Like just the idea of loss is so prevalent where I'm from. And how we process grief, what I've learned, right? How we process grief ain't always the healthiest way, right? Pushing it to the side and acting like it never happened and, oh, it don't hit me until next year when it comes up. And like, you ain't processing that properly, right? As sad as I get about the losses that we have, I have to be reasonable and understand this. Like, and this is what I learned about myself. Like, I can get really down in the dumps about the things I've lost or the people I've lost. And I have to meet that with the equal amount of celebration for their lives. Not just like, oh man, they left me far too soon. But more so it's like, all right, but when we was here, you remember that one time we laughed and we joked and we was running through the woo out the bam and we was, yeah, that was such a funny time. Like I would have never had that experience. You know what I'm saying? Like if it wasn't for such and such when I was over here, right? Like, and I know I'm right? I'm giving an example, but I think I learned that like embrace and celebrate your people even after they gone and keep their memory alive. And I think music is one of the most internal things we can kind of craft as human beings, right? The closest thing to eternal, right? That we can make as human beings. And so it's me just memorializing maybe, right? So maybe I don't forget. Maybe I don't forget why I felt that way or what that person meant to me or um yeah, anything along those lines. I think that the whole point is for me to like not forget and to keep their legacy alive. I don't care how long they've been gone. It's just like we need a way to always reflect because how everybody processes grief and death is different person per person. But for me, it's cathartic for me to put it in my music. So because I remember every place, everywhere, every thought that went into every song I've ever made. I know where I was at every time. I know where I was at mentally. I know where I was at spiritually. I know what I was at probably physically at. You know what I mean? Right? And so when I make albums or if I make projects, specifically one like this that is just very personal and just like ripping back the layers of who I am and where I'm from and our story of triumph and of shortcomings or whatever the case may be, it's a timestamp, right? And it's something that I can say it was cathartic. It was a lot of stuff that was on my mind. I was shouting to the sky a lot on this album, right? I might have my grips with. I don't mean to get like spiritual or nothing like that, super, but like I have my beef with the man upstairs for a lot of stuff, right? He forgive me. I ain't blasphemous or nothing like that, right? But a lot of this album is me having some gripes with him with the timing and everything, right? And I think I got to face those things, right? Maybe if I would have succeeded a little faster, maybe I could have got my cousin out them situations so he wouldn't have got like killed, right? Maybe if I would have succeeded a little faster, you know what I'm saying? Maybe my grandma could have saw me like Reggie's Rock Club with Jordan Ward. You know what I mean? Maybe if I would have just kind of, hit my stride a little sooner, maybe if a pandemic didn't happen, right? I think that goes into like the survivor's remorse thing, right? Was like, damn, if I would have succeeded faster, maybe that would have changed things. Maybe if I had a little bit more money or opportunity, I could have shifted his opinion on something. Maybe I couldn't have. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I get all that influence and love and I try to pass it on. He just don't take to it, right? Like who knows? We never know, right? But those are the type of things I had to face, right? Like just understanding like you can't rewind time. It's one track. It's one go. You're gonna lose people. Their journey gonna come to an end. You gotta keep going and then don't stop.
And I want to touch on that aspect of religion because going back to Life Keeps Honest, that first track, you say, I remember being 6 in my room questioning God. What were some of those questions that you were posing at such a young age?
I don't know if everybody remembers their first time encountering the concept of death, right? I remember being 6 in particular. I had an auntie, it's my auntie Crystal. She was the one that got my mom into church, which kind of kept me in church. And, you know, she used to have this beautiful voice and she would sing in the choir and stuff like that. She got cancer and me and her had the same birthday. Both our birthdays is May 2nd. So we were always birthday twins. We would always celebrate our birthdays together. She ended up passing away from pancreatic cancer. And that was the first death I ever recall as a youngin', where I actually my mom has to sit you down and teach you the concept of like, yo, this person's not coming back no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm hitting her with the why, or wait, we all got to do this, or wait, we all leave one day, right? Like that was the moment that I remember so vividly asking my mom those questions for the first time. When it was like, well, why would God make it so we have to die? Like, why would we just, what's our point in being here anymore? Right? Like existential questions as a 6-year-old, right? These are some, right? I was a really curious kid. You know what I'm saying? I used to ask the pastor about dinosaurs. I'm like, how's the Bible when the dinosaurs? Like, I was that kid, right? And so I know I really was. Like, I was always that super, like my friends would just laugh thinking I was just trying to be deep or just like tweaking out. Like, they always thought it was funny. We was kids, so they didn't think I was being serious. They thought I was trolling, right? And so, but and I thought it was important that the album start exactly right there in that moment, because that was my first dose of like, oh wait, life's fragile. Oh wait, it could be me. Oh wait, like once it's over, it's over. Like once you in that casket, it's kind of like there's nothing else. So that and it had me questioning like, why would you set it up that way? Very, very a very 6-year-old approach to thinking about it, right?
Why would you set it up that way? It's crazy.
A very 6-year-old way to think about it, right? But that was the starting point for me. Maybe like understanding the gravity of the situation we was in at a very young age, right? When you're that young and you're a product of a single parent and she works late nights and you got to navigate the CTA and the streets and walk through the neighborhoods and you find out that your auntie dies for the first time, you were like, oh, wait, like I could get hit by a car or a bus. You know what I'm saying? I could get kidnapped. Like, I'm thinking about this stuff, right? I'm like, oh, wait, like it's just like that. Like it could just be a moment and it's over. So I remember how heavy that felt at 6. That felt so heavy to the point where I'm 30, whatever, right? And it hits me like, to this day, I know how that felt, to just understand that concept. So, yeah, bro, I think that's the best way I can describe that moment. That was just my first real introduction to like, yo, life is fragile. Death is permanent.
That's the first time you started screaming at the sky?
Exactly. And getting on my soapbox and like, yo, why you? It was one of those situations, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, over time, I've learned to not look at it like so cynically, right? And you don't know the time nor the hour, so you just kind of do the best you can while you can. You know what I'm saying? Just get as much out of it, stay out of harm's way, and just do the best you can.
Do you feel like this had an impact on your relationship with religion?
100%. Right? Not so much as that I'm like against it, or I'm very spiritual, actually. I'm very, 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 very spiritual. Right? It probably, when you say affect, maybe positively. Right? Or I found myself with a renewed sense of purpose, if that makes sense.
How so?
I didn't feel like I needed to be in church all the time. I felt as if I could do something more practical. And by practical, I mean maybe more modern, right? While I believe a lot of the things, I believe everything, you know what I'm saying, as far as like my religion is concerned and God and whatever the case may be. I felt like it's a more practical thing for me to do is like get out there, share my experiences, share my route, and maybe that can help people. I don't think always throwing the Bible at somebody is the best way to get through to a person, right? So I tried a more human approach, right? And so maybe that took me away from religion in some areas, I guess, but it's more about me wanting to connect with people and show them my experiences, and so maybe they can learn from them and maybe it can help them in some type of way, right? And I feel like that's my version of doing the Lord's work. You know what I mean? Maybe not the traditional sense of it because I find it sometimes impractical because that ain't how everybody digest information, especially when they're going through circumstances.
It's important to have these conversations, right? To me, having these conversations and putting it all out there, right? Because
It's a sensitive topic too, right?
just like how healing isn't linear, relationships aren't linear, right? And especially coming from where you come from, Jay-Z, where I'm from. He says, I'm from the place where the church is the flakiest and dudes been praying to God so long that they're atheists. When you're coming from a situation that you're coming from, where death is prevalent, you have to learn the concept of death at 6 years old. Your homie's dying. I'm walking to go get some food 10 minutes after a shooting happens because I'm so desensitized to the violence in my neighborhood. It really makes you question, like, why is this happening? And there's nobody to answer that.
Not at all. You got to go through it. And you just, unfortunately, you just hope you make it out on the other side because that's the only way you're going to get your answers. Right? My answer, I will give you my answer. And I don't think I'm made it to the other side because I ain't shit yet. You feel me? But my answer to that would be everybody got a trajectory and everybody got a path and everybody got a circumstance. You got a hand you're dealt in life, period. You just got to play it out, right? And the game ain't over until you play out, until you out of cards. You know what I'm saying? So as long as you kept cards and as long as you kept options and as long as you always put yourself in position to try to be better, do better, whatever the case may be, granted, this is information that is not readily accessible in where we're from, right? I'm saying this from a perspective of like, man, thank God for my mom, right? Like, I think she is, for coming from where she's from, like, she don't got a college degree. She don't, you know what I'm saying? She's from Cabrini Green Projects, but she is one of the most enlightened people I've ever met, bro, right? And just something in her motivated her to do something different. And me watching her do that motivated me to do something different.
What was it she did different?
She was just a hard worker, right? A lot of our family members, it was so easy to be like, oh, we just gangbang, or we just sell drugs, or we just do this. That's how we make our money. Like, it's just normal. We scam. We do whatever. Like, I kid you not, right? No, but I kid you not. This is how people's form of like getting like money is like, that's their go-to shot. You know what I'm saying? That's their go-to thing, right? It ain't get a job. It ain't go to school, get an education. That's not what's preached to them. That's not the information they have access to. So my mom, without information, was like, hey, yo, let me go work as like a clerk and then move my way up into accounting and then like do the books for like this person and use my experience to go here and work it. Like, that to me is enlightenment. You figured something out without having the resources and the information. You have to have some type of extra thing going on for anytime. If you don't have information on how to take a test or what's going to be on the test and you somehow still ace the test, either you got lucky with the questions and maybe a little bit of that's part of it, but you was tapped, whatever this particular test is, you tapped into and you finesse it. You could have guessed. You could have just guessed right. Maybe she was guessing right. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she was just going through life guessing and she just guessed right. And me seeing her do that, I was allowed to take a little more deliberate approach, right? I could say, well, my mom never went to college. Let me go to college, right? I'm like, well, my mom was doing this at her age. Let me try to do something like this at my age, right? Let me get a job at 22, fresh out of college, out the BAM, give me a degree, out the BAM. Then we ain't never seen it, right?
Went to college?
I did. Yeah, no, 100%, bro. I got my degree in everything. Music journalism, not music journalism, just journalism and advertisement. You know what I'm saying? 4 years, right? So I'm like, let me go do this, put music on hold for a little bit just because, like, my mom ain't never seen that. We ain't never had nothing like that in our family, bro. Right? So I'm just piggybacking off her. She doing stuff that we ain't never seen. So I'm like, okay, she cooking with something. I'm like, I'm looking at my mom, she cooking with something. You feel me? So I'm like, all right, let me just try to piggyback off what she was doing at her age and just try to like expand upon that or take it a step further. That's something and you got to think, she's a single parent. So a lot of the person I'm with the most, learning from the most, seeing in the house the most is my mom, right? I'm studying her every move. You feel me? So whatever guided that lady out of like the projects to having a sustainable career and in the accounting world with no degree or whatever the case may be, and she made her way, I would quantify that as a success to me, right? And so being able to see that, I think is what enlightened me, you know what I'm saying? Into like maybe trying something different, right? That was my information. That was my like insight, right? I don't know if everybody got to really dig into their parents' story or their parents, but I got to see my mom's firsthand. It was just kind of me and her. I didn't have siblings. I didn't have none of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's only one other person in the house for me to study, piggyback off, look at, whatever the case may be, right? So I think that's where I got like all of that from, as far as like maneuvering through things with a little more like eye for lack of a better term, just like an eye for development or just being better. You know what I'm saying? I got it from her. I could just at every phase of life, she always wanted to get better, 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 better. She got older and she gets tired, you know what I'm saying? Because people just get older and tired. But time passed. Now it's my turn, you know what I'm saying? To take the same principles and try to make something out of it, change our situation, change our circumstances, make the reality shift a little differently, right? This don't have to be our reality at all times. You can literally get up and move to another state in the country, in a different space. You know what I'm saying? You literally can do it, right? And a lot of people don't even think it's possible until you see somebody do it or you do it yourself.
And the fact that your mom was able to be that example for you.
For sure.
She kept you on the straight and narrow.
For sure.
She created something for you that you never even knew was possible.
Facts.
The last song I want to touch on is Never Underestimate. In the song you say, ever loved something so much you'd sacrifice everything. Dog, I've been losing myself. I've been finding my peace in addiction. And we talked about it previously, last time you were here. Chasing a career in entertainment, even when you got here. There's a lot you have to sacrifice. For me, I sacrificed that relationship, that friendship that, you think you're going to be friends forever. I can't go out tonight, dog. I got to work. Family events, job opportunities. And at certain points, you could even lose yourself. You lose yourself chasing something that is a dream. If somebody told me right now, I've had this conversation so many times, right? Where I'm like, I threw away that relationship and what did it get me? Hopefully, eventually, someday it makes me, the top podcast in the world. But when you go through that shit, when you're going there, when you're in the trenches, all you see is the negative. All you feel is the negative, right? You say, dog, I'm losing myself. What was the part of Demetrius you found yourself losing?
I think I was losing like my childlike creativity for it, right? I think when you're pursuing something as lofty as a career in music, you're going to have a lot of setbacks, a lot of no's, a lot of people. You might think you're putting out great music, great content, right? And it's just not hitting, bro. Like, or hitting the way you think it should be, right? So in those moments, you can start to question, like, should I really be doing this? Should I just go get a job? Should I just go do something else? It's better ways to make money. Like, there's 110,000 ways to make money. Music ain't at the top of them. Let's be totally honest. We all know it's true, right? It's simply a childlike passion that I'm trying to turn into some type of lucrative career, right? And it's in the hardest industry to do that exact thing, right? Like the odds are insane, right? But I've come to some understandings like, man, I'm blessed to be in certain positions that I didn't even think was possible, bro. To be next to a No I.D, to be in the studio and have the respect of some of my peers that I have, bro. To just be still being able to do this or still find people that's willing to invest into what I do. I have to learn that that's the win, right? Like thinking you're gonna be Drake, you know what I'm saying, or Kendrick or whatever the biggest megastar in the world is, right? Like that ain't the W all the time. That ain't the goal all the time. If you get there, blessings to you. You know what I'm saying? If you get to that level, God bless you, right? But I realized maybe I wanted something even simpler, right? I wanted something even simpler, right? And I wanted something that still fed my creative itch and my childlike passion for music, the very thing that I thought I was losing, right? And doing what I love, and then finding this balance of somehow uh, um, making some type of uh, financial gain to help just stay afloat to the next day, right? I think initially, like many young people that get into music, that get deals or whatever the case may be, you think it's supposed to go one way. You think, oh, I signed a record deal, it's supposed to just, that's the end goal. I made it. This is the W. This is the W, right? And so I learned when that didn't happen, right? We talked about it on the last podcast. When that didn't happen, right? I found myself in that very position that I talk about on Never Underestimate, right? I think Never Underestimate is probably the evolution of that train of thought, right? At first, I felt like I was, you know, like I said, I was finding my peace in addiction to the game, to the blunt, to the bottle. You find yourself trying so hard at the music industry thing and it doesn't work. You get addicted to it. You get addicted to posting content. You get addicted to like chasing the number. You get addicted to them streams going up. You get addicted to just the game, right? That's the game, right? In that, I found myself coming out to LA. I was smoking a little bit more, drinking a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Dodging a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes losing my focus, often gaining it back, right? But I realized all of that was stemming from, and I said I found my peace in it. I think it was stemming from me not finding the success I thought I was supposed to have in music the first time around, right? And what I learned from that, so to answer your initial question, the part that I lost that I thought I was losing was you so busy trying to get content and music off that you stop loving what you do. And that's always like, that's the worst, right? Because like it was a point in time where I was doing music was just simply because I loved it. It wasn't for a dollar. It wasn't for a career. It wasn't for any of this. And nobody was paying attention. Nobody cared. Nobody cared, right? I was in my mom's den. I was just making music, bro. That right there. That is what I lost. That right there is ultimately I had to learn to put that in front at all times because if anybody takes my joy from doing something that I love doing since I was like 13 years old, bro, then it's like, what am I doing it for at this point? Right? Like, I quite literally can go into real estate and go make money. Like, I could quite literally go do something that makes money, bro. Like, it ain't here, right? So I had to realize, like, so what am I really doing it for? What are you doing it for? Love. I just love making music, bro. I realized if nobody pays attention, if nobody plays my next album, if nobody plays another song of mine, guess what I'm gonna go do? I'm gonna make another song, bro. And that's the part I was losing with, right? When you get in all those no's, all those doors shut in your face, and you see some of your peers maybe elevate and extend and do things, right? You start to be on something like, I gotta succeed, I gotta succeed, I gotta win, I gotta get it up. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, they doing good. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? You start comparing yourself. And then what they say, comparison is the thief of joy. I'm like, yeah, you too busy worrying about what another person doing that you ain't even focused on what you got going on. You starting to lose your love for it, and you ain't succeeding at it. So now it's a double whammy. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause you so focused on what another person's success, and you forgot why you was doing it in the first place. And you can hear it in people's music, whatever the case may be. So I think that was the part that I was losing. And as I go through, you listen to Never Underestimate, and you see me go through this progression of like, man, I've been losing myself, but like, nah, bro. Like, I think I got it. Like, I think I got the magic. I know the magic is the love for it, right? Like, I know what it is. I know what we went through as a people, and there is still things for us to accomplish and things for us to do. So, nah, it's cool if I'm hungry. It's cool if I'm still starving for that moment. It's cool if I'm still hungry, right? Just don't lose. Like, don't become so hollow, right? Don't become so shallow. Don't become so jaded by the very thing you originally loved that you forget why you was doing it in the first place, right? And I think that's what Never Underestimate got to me. That was the point I was trying to get to on Never Underestimate, right? It's like, I think even later in the verse, I was like, man, my homie Ty say the lyrics don't connect. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, maybe your mama ain't called you stress. You know what I'm saying? Called you at 2 a.m. because bullets flying. You never know if you might be next. You know what I'm saying? That is what I realized. Like, when I was a kid, bro, and I started doing music at 13 years old, knowing we was in those conditions, it was like, besides me loving it, was the slight fuel for me going as hard at music. Because I saw it as an actual way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I could have worked a 9 to 5 and probably still like saved up money and like got out. You know what I'm saying? For sure. That's a route. For sure. People, that's a route. You don't have to rap to get out the hood. Let's not. It's not what I'm saying, right? But what I am saying is that it added a chip to my shoulder. These things that we was going to, and it just reminded me, like, don't underestimate me. Don't underestimate my love for the game. Don't underestimate my passion and my drive and the lengths that I'm willing to go to accomplish my goal, right? And I'm even okay with sacrificing certain things to get to that joint, right? But one thing I'm not willing to sacrifice is my pure love for it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is what I was wrestling with at the beginning. Never underestimate. I'm wrestling with, like, damn, I'm like, I ain't getting the dubs that I want. I ain't getting the visibility. I'm like, man, I'm not even partying, but it's just like I'm finding like my relaxing time, taking a drink. My relaxing time is hitting a blunt. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'm like, am I indulging in these things too much because I'm worried, or I feel like I need something to sedate me, or do I need, like, I just looked at it, I was like, man, I'm kind of going hard here. I'm like, am I all right? Like, and I had to realize, like, man, you all right, but it's like you could be locked in a little bit more. You might have been a little worried or a little like dismayed because things haven't been going your way. You know what I'm saying? But that's a part of the game, and just lock back in.
And that's something that we all face. I mean, you do this enough times, you stick around long enough. There's periods where you don't want to do it anymore. There's periods where this is your favorite thing to do every single week, every single day.
Ebbs and flows, bros. Ebbs and flows.
But the hardest part is maintaining that love, especially once it starts to feel like a job. I forgot who told me that shit. It was Classic. His ass, he was like, it sounds like you made yourself a job. I'm like, he's like, bro, you do everything, like, you need to love what you're doing. And right now you're doing so much that you made yourself a job.
Just to piggyback off what you said, it's like, I think that truly is the most important part, right? Like, because the moment it start feeling like a job, bro, it started to feel like any other job in the world, bro. You hate it. Like anything you feel like you're doing some stuff because you have to do it, not because you want to do it. You start to hate it. You're like, oh, this is trash, right? And you never want to get to that point, especially with art, especially with creativity, with conversations. You just never want to go that. You never want to lose yourself in that.
That's why I fucked up last week when I thought we had the shit scheduled. I was excited because I'm like, oh, treat Nohbi like we had a great conversation last time. It's gonna be a dope conversation. Because sometimes you do get into that period. It's like you're just doing it to do it. And you're following a formula that you know you're used to, and it doesn't come out the way that you want it to. So that's why when I knew that you were coming through, I'm like, oh, we're gonna have a good conversation.
100%.
So to close out, I gotta ask you, right? When we did the last interview, we broke down the significance of each album title. Whatever you do, don't panic.
Yo.
Why this title? What does it represent to you?
Whatever you do, don't panic. I had a conversation with my pops when I was in the process of making this album. My pops has this habit of just calling me randomly. That shit. You know
Yeah, do they all.
randomly calls me just to drop words of wisdom. And mind you, I hadn't talked to him in a hot minute, maybe a few weeks, right? And he gets these little inklings about me. He's usually like right on the spot with him. And so he calls me and he said, Josh. And my middle's name, Josh, if anybody wants to know. No. He calls me and says, Josh. He's like, I don't know what you're going through, but it's okay if you're doing it scared. It's okay if you're doing it with a little bit of anxiety. What's important is that you're doing it. And when you're doing it, don't panic. Because if you panic, it starts to feel as if you don't really trust God and you don't really trust what the plan that you're doing is going to actually come through because you're panicking, right? So I was like, okay, I'm, as your dad say, like, okay, yeah, wisdom. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure, dad. Yeah, sure. I sat on that. And I started applying that concept to everything. He's like, whatever you do, don't panic. And I'm like, man, if that is not indicative of our circumstances and what we should be doing opposed to what is actually happening in our neck of the woods, right? So I started seeing the parallels, right? So when I mentioned we desensitize to violence and the environment that we grow up in, you can call it desensitization, right? Or you can call it us not panicking. We do a lot of things out of panic, like we don't got money, so we they rob or they gonna stick up somebody, or a lot of the maneuvering we were doing in the neighborhood or that I saw in our neighborhood when we were coming up, and a little bit even now, it's just like people lack certain things, and so they find alternative means. And it's not the good alternative that we spoke about earlier, right? But it's often operated from being honest, a place of panic, right? Like they don't know what's next for them. They don't know where they're going to go. They don't know where they're going to eat, sleep, whatever the case may be, right? And oftentimes I found myself in situations with my mom and I never seen her panic. I never seen my pops panic, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, I'm like, if I could give any piece of advice to anybody from the circumstances in which we come from, like, don't panic, right? Just whatever you do, just don't panic, right? Bills could be late. Say that, bills could be late, rent could be due, block could be hot. Just don't panic. Maneuver, keep a calm head, find positive outlets, mind your business, protect yourself at all times. You know what I'm saying? Just very practical advice from navigating where we're from. That's all it was. And then I would say as you listen to the album, it gets into more details. But like the thesis statement would be, whatever you do, just don't panic, man. No matter how hard things get or how crazy it seems, just don't panic.
I appreciate you coming through, bro. Man, you got anything you want to plug real quick?
Man, whatever you do, don't panic. Drops July 2nd. It's probably out already. If so, go stream it on Apple Music, Spotify. we probably gonna have some shows coming up, man. So stick tuned to that. And treenohbi.com if you want to copy your merch. Yeah, man. Thank y'all for tapping in with us.
And whatever you do, don't panic, man. Make sure you go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Sad Boys for real. Peace out.